A week ago, you were about to book flights to Istanbul. The confidence was high. What's gone wrong this last week, brother?
I was gonna book flights to Istanbul if we beat Real Madrid. Remember to add that important caveat, Terry, please. I know.
But you were like very excited. You won those two games. There was hope for Liverpool, but the drop off again this week to get battered by Madrid and then to put that performance in as a response. Give me your thoughts on that, mate.
I mean, look, in terms of the performance was just absolutely dreadful. This is one of our worst performances this whole year. I know the result is a draw. Obviously, like we've had worse performances, like the likes of Napoli and other games. Of course, they were worse. But this is one of a bunch of bad performances this season. Crystal Palace were awful today. Crystal Palace, if they were a bit more serious, could have easily won today's game. If they actually tried, if they actually had a bit of quality, they would have won today's game. From our perspective, the lineups, the substitutions, the players, it's kind of the same shit over and over, to be honest with you. You know, Jordan Henderson literally stopped an actual goal from going into the back of the net. Rivals always love to throw at our face that we scapegoat this guy. We don't scapegoat him. He's just rubbish. Rubbish. He's just tragic. Jordan Henderson needs to retire soon. Forget all the documentaries about Hendo should never be done and shit. He should retire or just move on. Go play for Sunderland. Finish your career at the club where this shit all started. Because right now it just ain't it. Milner, same thing. Fabinho when he came on, same thing. Naby Keita, dreadful. Maybe Elliot was probably the only midfielder that played well today. I know he comes under a lot of criticism, but today Elliot was at least a little bit, he was okay. Created chances, did something. I feel really bad for the forwards. Salah, Gakpo, and Jota. I thought Jota was probably bad out of them three, but the other two, I just feel bad for them. No service. They need to create for each other, create for themselves. Just sat there like stranded on an island. Every time the ball's just hoofed in behind them, they're expected to go run after it and get it and do some shit. Like it's just very weird, man. Today I thought Salah had a few moments, pass to Gakpo, hit the bar. Gakpo had a few moments, but other than that, we really created nothing. The two centre backs were good today. Both Matip to a lesser extent, but I thought Van Dijk had a good game today. And let me just say this, because obviously Terry's gonna focus on the guy on the right, but there's one guy that my fan base overrate to the point of no return, never criticize, and that's the left back, Mr. Andy Robertson. Zero. You will never hear a man come off mute and criticize Andy Robertson ever. It's always about Trent. Andy Robertson's been absolutely dreadful this whole season. He's been absolutely dreadful this whole season. He has moments where he, like the Villa game, for example, other games where he plays well. But other than that, Andy Robertson, consistently shit this year. Or 1 week good, 1 week shit. 1 week good, 1 week shit. Just so inconsistent. And the substitution to bring Milner on for Trent, I don't understand. Milner is worse than Trent defensively and offers you nothing going forward. It's not like Milner is some sort of rock at the back. The man's 37, 38. He shouldn't be a right back to begin with. He should not be coming on to play right back to begin with. The game where he played well as a right back, we were playing in a low block. Let's be real. Against City, we parked the bus. So obviously Milner's going to look good because there's no space to run in behind for City. So all they have to do is just run at Milner. So it's a totally different setting, So for me, the performance today was absolutely dreadful. Every game, it looks like we just want to just raise the middle finger to Alisson Becker and go like, here's a shit back pass so you can deal with it. Like every single game, there's just a shit back pass. There's a crazy moment. I just want to hug Alisson Becker and like sing a Bob Marley song to him. Like every little thing's going to be all right. Like I apologize to him because we've just let him down massively. I feel bad for the forwards today. And listen, other than that, it was a dreadful game overall. It felt like watching Soccer Aid. I was just waiting for Chunks to lace up his boots and come on, and he would have been better than some of the midfielders we had out there today anyway. So, it's just, today was just such a shit game overall from both sides. Palace, if they had like 5% more quality, would have won the game, Let's just keep it real. And I heard what you're saying about top four. Listen, it remains as is unless Spurs beat Chelsea tomorrow. It's just same shit. And to me, if I'm being honest, we have already failed this season. So getting top four means absolutely nothing to me, except playing in the Champions League. But if we don't have a squad good enough to win it, then, playing in the Champions League is not some sort of achievement or blah, blah, blah. Because I don't even think we need Champions League to attract players. We don't. Like, let's not sit up here now and I want Terry. You're a United fan. You saw your
Mm.
club get Pogba, Lukaku, Sanchez whilst in Europa League. We
No,
could still
so
attract players.
I understand that point. This is where I slightly disagree with it. Is if you and Man City are fighting for Jude Bellingham next season and you're in the Europa League or the Conference League, he's picking Man City. If you go for Jude Bellingham and you're up against, a La Liga team or whatever else, or a Serie A team that are offering him money, of course you can land him. I think it depends who's fighting for your targets. You took uh, Darwin Núñez off of us for exactly that same reason. He was all up for United, then Liverpool came in, and in the summer you were in a much better position than we were. So I get your point. You can do it. The other reason you want to be in the Champions League is your club don't issue big spending anyway. If you've got £60 million less coming in, you're not going to invest. You're clearly not going to spend as much. Or do you think the owners might say, well, actually, because we're not in the Champions League, let's invest an additional amount to get us back in there? Like that would be my fear as a Liverpool fan.
Me and Curtis have spoken about this before. Short-term future, I'm not worried. This summer, I'm not worried about this summer. It's the long term. Because will they do it again the summer after? No. Or the summer after? No. It'll just be the same cycle of the same shit over and over again.
Yeah.
That's the problem. In terms of this current summer, Klopp came out publicly said in the embargoed press conferences, like he's fully like called them out this time. Like he's just done something that he's never done before. And he's spoken about these things. And look, from my perspective, I think this summer we will spend and we must spend, but it's not about this summer. The reason why we're FSG out and the reason why we want them to go is sustainability, competitiveness, ambition, And funnily enough, the two biggest problems we have is one, sentimentality, and two, lack of ambition. And with sentimentality, it's not just shown, by Klopp, it's shown by some of us fans as well. Because if I say Firmino needs to go, or Henderson needs to go, or Keita needs to go, or blah 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 needs to go, oh, he's done this, he's done that, he's done this, he's done that. Like we need to learn when to let go of players. We can't keep hugging players forever and telling them it's all going to be okay and it's all sunshine and roses and let's all be happy and get one big Klopp hug. Sometimes you've got to be ruthless and you need to have a ruthless edge to you. And if I'm being completely honest, we need about 6-7 new players. Now, I'm not saying all of them need to be Bellingham level. We could get, the 30 million signing, the 20 million signing, whatever. But as long as they're the right signings, the right profile, we'd be good to go, man. But now, look, it's just a fight for top four because we ain't gonna go to the Bernabeu and do shit, to be honest with you. So
yeah, I mean, you're not going to the Bernabeu and winning 4-0. There's no doubt. Kurdish, on today's game, just about today's game for a moment. Where did it go wrong for you? Is it like Hassam said? Is it certain individuals? Is it a lack of fight? Like, is it certain players in certain positions? What was the main issue for you today with this team? The fact there was no cohesion.
I tweeted before the game, Terry. I said, no, Darwin Núñez is going to be a very long day. We need to understand Darwin Núñez may not be the most clinical player, but he's the only player in that front line that has blistering pace at the moment, with Luis Diaz being out. By having blistering pace, you always got the other team worrying about somebody running behind. Even if he's not doing it, they're still worried. So the other team naturally push back a little bit more. And then that means you can go on the front press. Now, what happened in that game, the minute Darwin Núñez went out, I knew everything was ball to feet and everything was going to be slow. Now, unfortunately, we do not have the players to play ball to feet. They are not technical enough. That is just factual. You look at the games where Darwin Núñez didn't play previously, we couldn't score a goal. The game against Wolves in the FA Cup, Harvey Elliott scored a wonder goal. But before that, it was Brighton when we were 3-0 down. So when Darwin Núñez isn't in this team, we have no outlet, Terry. And the problem is because our midfield isn't good enough, we don't play through midfield. So we've not played through midfield all season. So when Darwin's there, at least we have the long ball to go through. And he's got the pace and the movement to actually occupy spaces and run into them spaces, which then allows other players to come in. But when Darwin Núñez isn't playing, you lose that as well. So then you can't go through the midfield and then you've got nothing up front as well. Everything was ball to feet again. And I've watched Sunday league games more exciting than that, Terry. My younger cousin plays under 8 Sunday league, and I've seen better football and more excitement in watching him at times than I did today. And Terry, I want to make one thing very clear. I want to make this very clear. I don't get on Jordan Henderson too much because I know what Jordan Henderson is. He's always been legs. He's never been a very good football player. But I want to make something very clear. If Jordan Henderson had an ounce of dignity and pride today, he would have gave the captain's armband to Van Dijk on the pitch. Because when your right back that you've been nurturing and mentoring tells you to F off again for the second time in a season in front of public cameras in a game, that tells you that team doesn't respect you. If your own right back is telling you to F off as a captain and doesn't have that level of respect for you, then you need to give up that captaincy because your own team don't even respect you. And this is the problem. Jordan Henderson every time does a little pass or does a hoofball and then is shocked it doesn't work. You've never had the ability to do these things. Why do you think all of a sudden you've got the ability to do this now? All you've ever been good at, Jordan Henderson, is running. You've had good legs. Now you've lost the legs. Have some decency and say, do you know what? I'm not good. Gary Neville did it. When Gary Neville knew he was gone, he went to Ferguson and said, do you know what? Look, Fergie, I love this club too much. So therefore, this isn't for me anymore. Jordan Henderson has an ego of Lionel Messi, yet the ability of Lee Cattermole. Make it make sense to me, Terry.
Listen, I understand that frustration, and you can look at the player and say maybe he needs to be self-aware. But then what has he got around him? He's got the greatest manager Liverpool have had since the original Kenny Dalglish, or maybe the greatest have had since Paisley, who loves him, who plays him no matter what, who picks him, who is still wanting to invest in a player like James Milner again next year. So I can't. I totally get where you're. Well, I think he does. I mean, he praises these guys. He's got control. If Jurgen Klopp wanted rid of these players, he could get rid of them tomorrow, and he invests in them. And I think that there needs to be an element of the manager needs to make a decision on these players. But then I do get where you're coming from. This element
Terry,
of taking responsibility for yourself. I do get that.
No, but just on that as well, I want to say this. When we look at Jordan Henderson, Jurgen Klopp dropped him for 4 games in a row. Jurgen Klopp has dropped him this season for the biggest games against Man City and Tottenham when needed. So Jurgen Klopp does not have faith in Jordan Henderson anymore. However, when I look at that bench, if he's not playing Jordan Henderson, his other options are Fabinho, who came on and got yellow, and you saw his performance. We've seen him all season. It's either Curtis Jones, it's then either or Stefan Bajetic, who needs a rest because he's played so many games. So it's not like Jurgen Klopp wants to play Jordan Henderson because we've seen him drop him multiple times. He dropped him for 4 games in a row. But it's the fact that that's your options. It's Curtis Jones, Terry. It's like swapping I don't even know. I don't even have an analogy for it. It's that bad. Honestly, it's like going from expired chicken to expired pork. They're both going to kill you. You're going to be in hospital by the end of it, my guy.
I understand where you're coming from on that.